Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar, Plant-Based Proteins in Baked Goods and Pastries, How to Innovate and Stand Out with Our Ingredients. We will going to start in a few minutes. So thank you to being here today with us. My name is Véronique Merle. I'm a bakery and culinary category manager, and I will animate this webinar today. And I will also give you a presentation of Limagrain Ingredients. Let me introduce the other speakers and the agenda. We are pleased to welcome Julien Zacharias as Innovation and Insight Manager from Mintel Group. He will present you plant-based trends in bakery. Then we will welcome my colleague Lucille Dubost, who is food technologist, and she will present you her ingredients solution. And finally, we will close this webinar with a question and answers session. Just a few information about this webinar before starting. You are all on mute, but if you have any question, please ask them on the right part of the screen on the question tab. We will answer to the question at the end of the webinar, and if we don't have the time, we will come back to you personally after this webinar. And the presentation will be sent to you after the webinar. Let me introduce in a few words who is Limagrain Ingredients. Limagrain Ingredients is a subsidiary of Limagrain, which is an agricultural cooperative and international seeds group owned by nearly 1,500 farmers located in Limagne-Val d'Allier in the center of France. Limagrain is number 4 seed company worldwide, present in 57 countries and with more than 9,000 employees. The group breeds, produces, and distributes feed seeds, vegetable seeds, and agri-food products. Focused on the genetic progress of plants, it is driven by its purpose, cooperating for the progress of agriculture everywhere for everyone. Limagrain Ingredients create with its grains and cereals natural and safe ingredients with unique functionalities, able to satisfy consumer expectation and meeting our customers' challenges of innovation and differentiation. Committed for almost 30 years to clean label approach, we develop and offer a wide range of ingredients: flours, functional flours, pellets for snacks, bread-making ingredients, puffed and toasted grains, to improve the technical and organoleptic qualities of products for the agro-industries, pet food, and animal feed like young animals and horses. Limagrain Ingredients achieved sales of over 158 million euros, 55% of which are international, and transform over 330,000 tons of cereals every year. The company has more than 350 employees spread over 7 production sites in Europe. Now, I will let Julien Zacharias present you plant-based trends in bakery.
Thank you, Véronique, and hi, everyone. So indeed, I will present to you the trends. This is a review from the Mintel perspective on the trends in bakery around plant-based. We'll start by looking at what consumers' habits and how they've been changing. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, consumers across Europe are changing their habits to include healthier food and drinks choices into their diets. More specifically, we've seen that the emergence of new plant-based diets and brands are responding by innovating with different ingredients to cater to consumers' needs. We'll look then at how brands are innovating within bakery. They're coming up with new varieties of products centered around natural and plant-based ingredients. There is a strong emphasis on launching products with the right claim to target the right consumers, and with the usage of plant-based claims showing potential of also targeting a wider audience. And then finally, we'll look at some key ingredient words. So we're looking specifically at legumes and pulses, within which chickpea and fava bean have been growing in the usage of product launches, new innovations. And we're looking at, and now they are looking like suitable alternatives ingredients to include within plant-based products. So brands are leveraging their nutritional attributes to improve the nutritional value of their products by coming up with new recipes involving legumes and pulses. So we'll look into this in more detail now. So first, let's look at how the pandemic, for instance, have changed the consumer habits. We see that 63% of French consumers plan to support their immune health through their diets in the future. So health was the defining food and drink trend in the 2010s, and COVID-19 has only developed this even further. The pandemic has highlighted the need to have a strong immune system, and consumers have shifted their attention to food and drink options that promote well-being and healthy living. Furthermore, we've seen that 40% of French consumers plan to include more plant-based food and drink in their diet in the future, and that 26% of them aim to eat a diet that reduces the risk of lifestyle disease, such as hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, or diabetes. Overall, consumers are starting to replace meat with plant-based products to avoid health risks and preserve their long-term well-being. So how plant-based diets have been gaining in popularity in the last few years? We've seen that 26% of UK consumers agree that COVID-19 has made vegan and plant-based food and drink more appealing to them. Vegan, vegetarian, but also flexitarian diets were growing in popularity before the COVID-19, but yet consumer demand for plant-based food has accelerated since the outbreak, and because of heightened concerns around the environmental impact of animal agriculture and an increased awareness of the importance of a fiber-rich diet. A wider variety of plant-based alternatives has also encouraged the uptake. In response, bakery ingredients brands are innovating around vegan claims to encourage to engage with consumers looking for plant-based options. And they are often flagging up with the wholesome and nutritional qualities of the recipes. So how brands are catering to consumer needs and how and what innovations they're doing. So if we look at our global new product database, we're analyzing here the launch activity of new products. We see that plant-based food and drink products are launched mostly in the UK and in France, followed by Germany. Just in the last 12 months, UK and France together account for over a third of all European plant-based food and drink. Another trend is the home baking, which enables consumers to control what is in their food. We see on the right that 25% of adults in the UK who bake at home do so to control what goes into their food. So driven by an inclination to consume food and drink products which are nutritionally designed to complement their particular wellness needs, consumers are increasingly scrutinizing products labels and ingredient lists. So home baking is a well-placed to benefit from consumers' heightened scrutiny of ingredient lists, as this type of cooking gives consumers the freedom to tailor their recipes to select ingredients which meet their personal dietary needs. Having complete control over the recipe can also facilitate experimentation with more niche ingredients and flavors. So we're looking here at the evolution of the share of launches per category within the bakery category. So we see on the left that sweet biscuits is the dominant category in terms of launches. We're looking at the baking ingredient subcategory, which represents 17% of the launches within bakery. But on the right, we're looking at the bakery launches containing plant-based clams. And there we see that baking mixes and ingredients is the biggest category. Okay, so mostly it's going to be flours, not only because there's also other toppings and things like this, but dominantly it's going to be flours. So zooming into this baking ingredient and mixes, we see that the allegations made are growing, like vegan and plant-based. Plant-based being still quite niche, but generally speaking, we see that manufacturers are leveraging the wholesome and generally positive image of animal ingredient-free, so vegan, and make their products suitable for a growing audience. Despite plant-based being quite niche, uh, such offering may appeal to flexitarian consumers who, at the end, are a much larger audience than vegans. So we see then that the use of plant-based clams can help connect with flexitarians. 49% of French consumers are saying that they will try or they try to limit or reduce red meat or poultry consumption. So that's a big number. And plant-based clams have grown in all food and drink categories and are poised to follow the growth trajectory of all natural clams as consumers associate both with healthy eating. So bakery brands will need to focus their on-pack communication on the plant-based rather than vegan if they want to tap into a more mainstream audience uh, whose interest is healthy eating. Plant-based clams are a better way to target flexitarians, who are a much larger opportunity than vegans. Such claims also allow brands to stay away from the free-from aisles in the supermarkets. And then the pandemic has boosted the interest in plant-based foods. Bakery brands can capitalize by using plant-based claims to respond to consumers' demand for products that are more nutritious. Veggie content can be used to reduce sugar and promote fiber as well. And then finally, some key ingredient words and a focus on legumes and pulses. We'll be talking about chickpea and fava bean, which are looking like strong alternatives to the plant-based bakery. When we look at the launches within bakery products, we see that chickpea has the strongest growth as an ingredient. So chickpea is growing in the past 5 years by 168% in usage in new products, followed by peanut flour at 68%, chickpea flour 40%, and fava bean flour 20%. So there is a strong growth in those ingredients in the category. And then we'll finish with some example of products that we've seen in the market. In France, on the left, you have a Grain d'Alisa green lentils flour. This is locally sourced green lentil flour. It's organic. It's transformed within the Poitou-Charentes region with French grains and is free from gluten. In the middle, we see an Amisa organic chickpea flour, where they are leveraging the high protein content of chickpea, um, but this is also high in fiber. And this product was launched in the UK. And on the right, we see products from Denmark using fava bean flour to help with cooking. And here they say that the fava bean flour provides a color and make the dough easier to knead. And that is it for me. Thanks for your attention. And I let it back to Véronique.
Thank you very much, Julien. And now Lucille Dubost will present you our ingredients solution.
Good morning to everyone. I'm Lucille Dubost and I am manager of the bakery lab in Limagrain Ingredients company. And I am in charge of the development of new ingredients for industrial bakery and pastries. I will explain which ingredient coming from pulses we can propose to you. The first ingredient is called the Peps balls and it is quite new in our range. Peps balls are extruded pulses you can add in your recipes to improve the nutritional values of the finished products and also the taste because they are like inclusion. We have 3 different PEPS balls. The first one, called PEPS ball chickpea, has a density of 700 grams per liter, and it contains 22.9% of protein and 12.5% of fibers. The second one has quite the same density. It is PEPS ball pea and faba bean. These two PEPS ball looks like little round chips. The PEPS ball pea and faba bean contains 65 and 2% of protein and 3.9% of fibers. And the last PEPS ball is called PEPS ball red bean and pea. It's more round PEPS ball, and the density is a little bit lower than the others. It contains 34.7% of protein and 13.8% of fibers. These simple ingredients gives many benefits in a bakery product. At first, they are natural plant-based protein ingredients. They can boost the protein and the fibers contents in your finished product, and also to improve the Nutri-Score. They are easy to use in your recipes, and they give a nice texture and nice taste with no bitterness in your finished product. The declaration of PEPS ball is clear and clean label. Here is an example of the ingredient PEPS ball used in a bakery product, the PEPS bread. The PEPS bread is a specific recipe developed in Limagrain Ingredients lab. It is a nutritional bread for breakfast or snack. To make PEPS bread, we use nutritional ingredient like bran, like germ, to have a good nutritional value. And we can add also PEPS ball, chickpea, and PEPS ball red bean and pea at 10%. It is in substitution of wheat flour. And we can add also PEPS ball pea and faba bean at 17% to obtain different allegations. When you use a PEPS ball chickpea and red bean and pea, you have the allegation source of protein and fibers. And when you add 70% of PEPS ball pea and faba bean, you can reach the claim rich in protein and source of fibers. These 3 PEPS balls give a regular crumb color and also a nice aspect to the finished product. There is no loss of volume of the bread, even with the dosage at 17%. And the declaration in the ingredient list are pulses flours, or also faba bean protein concentrate and pea protein. Compared to the control for which the Nutri-Score is at C, you can obtain Nutri-Score B with the recipe with PEPS balls. And now another example of using PEPS ball in pastries. So we have chosen to use the PEPS ball pea and faba bean in gluten-free cookies. It's cookies based on oat ingredient. It contains oat flakes and also whole oat flour. In this recipe of cookies, we have put 7.5% of PEPS ball pea and faba bean. And then we obtain the claims source of protein and high in fiber. It gives to the cookies a great crunchy texture, and there is no impact on process. It's really easy to use. It is like if you mix chopped chips or resin. And the declaration of this PEPS ball pea and faba bean is a pea protein and faba bean protein concentrate. The second plant-based ingredient we can propose are functional flours from pulses. Functional flours are stabilized and heat-treated. The starch is then partially gelatinized and proteins are denatured, which gives new functionalities to the flours. We have in the range 6 functional flours coming from pulses. So the different varieties of pulses are faba bean, red bean, yellow lentil, chickpea, red lentils, and green pea. For the 3 last ingredients, we can also propose organic version. The protein content of these 6 ingredients is from 21% to 29%, and the percentage of fibers is from 5% to 19%. These functional flours are plant-based protein. They can be used to boost the nutritional values and also the Nutri-Score of your finished product. The technological and sensory interests using these functional flours are the capacity, the dehydration capacity, which is improved. There is also a reduction of pulses taste and the bitterness of the pulses. There is a stabilization of the flour, then the microbiological content is reduced. The shelf life of this flour is improved. This flour gives a nice taste and nice color to the finished product, and we have also a granulated version with a higher particle size to use in topping or in inclusion. So here it's an example of bread recipe using pulses functional flours. So it's a standard bread recipe containing 4% of fat and 4% of sugar. And we add to this recipe 15% of chickpea, faba bean, or red bean. It is in replacement of the wheat flour. With this recipe, we can reach the claimed source of protein and source of fibers. It is also an easy way to improve the sensorial benefits because it gives a nice taste and a nice color to the finished product without bitterness. Using this functional flour, there is no problem in the bread making. Here it's an example of recipe with chickpea, red bean, faba bean, but it can also you can also have the same results with the other product of the range like yellow lentil, red lentil, and green pea. You can use it at the same dosage. Now there is an example of pulses functional flours in pastries. So we have tested the pulses functional flour in a biscuit. For innocent red bean, we add 22.4% of functional flour. For faba bean, we put 19.4% of functional flour. And for chickpea, we add 28% of functional flour in the biscuit recipes. You can see that we add the percentage of proteins in the final product up to 4% with chickpea. And the allegation with red bean is a source of protein and rich in fibers. And for faba bean and chickpea, we reach the allegation of source of proteins. So this pulses give an original taste and a nice color to the biscuits. It is easy to use. Just add it in your recipe. And the declaration is clean label because it's just pulse flour in your ingredient list. The third solution we can offer you are the toasted pulses. The toasted process we have in Limagrain Ingredients allows to give a specific taste to pulses. In the range, we have 2 toasted pulses. The first one is toasted broken chickpea, which contain 24% of protein and 15% of fibers. And the second ingredient is the toasted red lentils, containing 30% of protein and 70% of fibers. So, like the previous ingredients, the idea when using this ingredient is to improve the protein and the fibers content in your recipe, and also to reach some claims and improve your Nutri-Score. The technological and sensory interests are the toasted taste in the biscuit without bitterness, and also the crispiness in all the type of finished products. And it's really easy to use because you just have to add it in your recipes. Here it's an example in a pastry product. So we have tested toasted broken chickpea in biscuits. The content is 9.6% of the recipe. With this percentage, we can reach the claim rich in protein and source of fibers, and we obtain a crunchy texture with slightly toasty taste. There is a good processability of the dough, and the declaration in your ingredients list will be toasted broken chickpea. The fourth and last solution we offer is the protein-premixes we have in the range. So these premixes are developed for bread application. And then they allow you to make protein-enriched breads. There are two premixes in the range. The first one is called the source of protein-premixes. It's a gluten-free blend, and it contains 23.2% of protein. And the second one is a rich in protein premix containing 60.8% of protein, and the last one is a rich in protein premixes containing inclusions. These inclusions are red lentils, toasted red lentils. These premixes can allow you to boost the protein and the fibers content in the finished product, and also improve the Nutri-Score. In these premixes, there is a balanced profile. We can obtain a balanced profile of the dough with a normal baking development. These ingredients are neutral in color and taste, and it's easy to use. You just have to add them to your recipe. So here it's an example of bread using these premixes. So when you add the premixes, you have to reduce the content of wheat flour. The source of protein premix is used at 15%. The rich in protein premix is used at 20%, and the last one with inclusion is used at 25%. Bread with a neutral taste and a neutral color. The bread have no bitterness taste. And you can use the rich in protein premix with inclusion for a nice aspect and nice texture of your bread. Using this ingredient, you still have a balanced profile of the dough with a normal baking development. This premixes has a long shelf life of 12 months. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Lucille. We invite you to discover our other nutrition solution by contacting our teams. Now we are only at the end of our webinar and time for a QA session. So as explained at the beginning, you have a specific question tab for question. Do not hesitate to put your question here, and we'll take the time to get back to you and answer you after.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the chat and we have a few questions here already. Questions about the Peps bowls, a few questions about the taste. So Lucille, do you either taste neutral, and especially for the chickpea bowl, doesn't it add any different taste?
And the Peps bowl chickpea and the other Peps bowl give a neutral taste to the finished product.
Right, thanks. Do the Peps bowl used for bread, are they used inside of the bread or as a topping?
No, they are used inside of the bread. They are mixed with the other ingredients at the beginning of the mixing step, and they are not destroyed. We still see them in the finished product, even if we add it at the beginning of the mixing step.
Good. Another question: do the Peps bowl in cookies do they burn during the baking, or?
No, they are not burning. They are still. They looks like at the beginning, so you can see the little chips of Peps balls and they are not burning now.
Okay. Another question linked to that one is: can you use it unbaken? So basically, like for example, in cookie dough or for ice cream market, for example.
I think it is better when it is baked and if there is a mixing step, because it permits to hydrate a little bit the Peps ball, and if you use it as a raw material, it could be a little bit too hard.
Good. A few more questions. We got a lot of questions. Thank you for that. How does the Peps ball absorb moisture if they are used in dough?
Sorry, I don't really understand.
How do they absorb the moisture?
In the finished product, no, it does. As a raw material, the Peps ball are a little bit hard, but when they are mixed in the dough and in the finished product, it gives a soft and a smooth taste. It's not harder at all, so yes, it absorbs some moisture, but it's a nice taste in mouth. It's not just a nice taste in mouth in the bread.
Okay. I'm having a quick look at all the other questions. Given the time, we won't be able to answer all of them, but don't worry, we'll get back to you with answers later. Maybe just a last question to finish about the protein premixes.
Mm-hmm.
So do they extend shelf life because of the water content? I think it's just a clarification on what you said earlier.
No, the shelf life is extended, the shelf life of the premixes, because we are using ingredient in the premixes. It contains pulses functional flour, and as pulses functional flours are heat treated, the shelf life could be improved at 12 months. Because compared to native pulses flour, the shelf life is only a few months. So as functional flours has a long shelf life, and as we use it in premixes, the shelf life of the premixes is higher.
Good. Final question. So again, about protein premixes, the question again about what is the water absorption and can you use it raw, meaning what are the microbiologic standards? Are you able to answer that now, or is that something you should?
Yeah, I have to check some information to.
We'll get back to you on this one and on the other questions. So Thanks again. Veronique, you want to close it?
Yes, thank you all very much. It was a pleasure to have you here and present you this webinar. Thank you very much to Julien Zacharias from Mintel and Lucille Dubost. Don't hesitate to contact us and visit our website. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Twitter. Thank you at all and have a nice day.